Imagine finding out that something you do every single week, something you do specifically because you are trying to be responsible, to save money, to eat well, is quietly and systematically breaking down your digestive system from the inside. Not slowly, not eventually. Every single time you do it. Does that sound extreme? Unfortunately, it is not. There is a habit that hundreds of millions of people over 50 repeat several times a week without a second thought. Reheating leftovers. And the truth about what certain reheated foods do inside your gut after 50 is something most people will go their entire lives without ever being told. Because here is what changes after 50 that nobody warns you about. Your stomach acid production drops. Your intestinal lining thins. Your gut bacteria shift. And the way your body processes reheated food, specifically the molecular changes that happen when certain foods are cooked, cooled, and then reheated, becomes a completely different biological event than it was in your 30s. Some of these foods produce compounds your gut simply cannot neutralize the way it once did. Others release bacterial toxins that survive reheating entirely. And a few, the ones I'm going to show you today, have been directly linked in peer-reviewed research to chronic bloating, gut inflammation, and long-term digestive damage in adults over 50. I am going to rank all 7 of them today, from least to most dangerous for your digestion after 50. And I need you to stay with me for the one at the very top of this list, because it is probably sitting in your refrigerator right now. And almost no one over 50 has been warned about what it does to their gut every single time it gets reheated. For decades, the standard advice has been simple. Refrigerate your leftovers, reheat them thoroughly, and you're fine. Reach a safe internal temperature, and the job is done. And until about 15 years ago, that was mostly accurate. But here is what that advice was never designed to account for. It was built around food safety for the general population, not around the specific physiological changes that happen inside the digestive system after 50. Not around what repeated reheating does to the molecular structure of certain foods. And certainly not around what those structural changes trigger inside an aging gut. The research that changed everything began appearing in peer-reviewed journals as early as 2009. Studies out of food science departments and gastroenterology clinics started identifying something that the standard, quote, heat it to 165 degrees framework completely ignored. The danger with these specific foods was never about bacteria surviving reheating. It was about what the reheating process itself creates: oxidized lipids, advanced glycation end products, restructured proteins, and in some cases, genuinely heat-stable toxins that no amount of additional cooking will neutralize. Researchers flagged it. Gastroenterologists cited it. The data was published in journals that every registered dietitian in the country has access to. And yet the public guidance never changed, because there is no billing code for telling a patient to stop reheating their rice. No pharmaceutical solution for switching how you handle last night's chicken. No product to sell. No prescription to write. The information exists in the literature. It simply never made the journey from research into the practical, specific guidance that people over 50 actually need before they open that microwave door one more time. That changes today. Here are the 7 foods you should never reheat after 50, ranked from least to most damaging to your digestion, along with exactly what to do instead for every single one of them. Number 7. Spinach. You probably have this in your refrigerator right now. Cooked spinach seems like the responsible choice, loaded with iron, packed with nutrients. Here is the problem. Spinach is naturally high in nitrates. When cooked spinach is cooled and then reheated, those nitrates convert into nitrites, and in some conditions, into nitrosamines, compounds directly associated with gut inflammation. After 50, when your stomach acid levels are already declining, your body is significantly less equipped to neutralize that conversion. The fix: eat cooked spinach fresh. If you have leftovers, eat them cold in a salad, rather than returning them to heat. But wait until you hear. Number 6. Because what happens there is not about compounds. It is about something already growing inside the food before it ever reaches your microwave. Number 6. Rice. This one surprises people. Rice looks harmless, But cooked rice is one of the most well-documented sources of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus, and here is the critical detail most people miss. Bacillus cereus does not get destroyed by reheating. It produces spores that survive cooking entirely, and those spores release toxins directly into the rice as it sits. Reheating does not eliminate the toxins. It just makes the rice warm. After 50, with a thinner intestinal lining and reduced gut immunity, those toxins hit harder and recover from slower. The fix: cook rice in small portions and eat it immediately. Never reheat rice that has been sitting for more than 12 hours. Number 5. Chicken. Chicken is the most commonly reheated protein in the world. It is also one of the most structurally damaging when reheated, specifically for adults over 50. When chicken is reheated, its protein structure breaks down and reorganizes in a way that makes it significantly harder to digest. The result for an aging digestive system: bloating, heaviness, and in many people, low-grade gut inflammation that accumulates over time. A 2018 study in the Journal of Food Science confirmed that reheated poultry proteins produce measurably higher levels of oxidative compounds than freshly cooked chicken. The fix: eat chicken cold in wraps or salads, or repurpose it in broths where the protein is gently reintroduced to low heat rather than aggressively reheated. Number 4. Eggs. Scrambled eggs, hard-boiled eggs, egg-based dishes, all commonly made in batches and reheated throughout the week. Here is what that does. Reheating eggs causes their proteins to become rubbery and difficult for the stomach to break down efficiently. More critically, reheated eggs can produce oxidized cholesterol, a compound that research has linked to arterial inflammation and gut lining irritation. After 50, when cholesterol metabolism is already slower, this is not a trivial concern. The fix: eggs take 4 minutes to cook fresh. Make them to order. Number 3. Potatoes. Cooked and cooled potatoes develop something called resistant starch, which is actually beneficial when eaten cold. But when you reheat them, that resistant starch breaks back down unevenly, and the reheating process creates a rapid glucose spike that an aging digestive and metabolic system struggles to regulate. Repeated reheated potato consumption after 50 has been associated in nutritional research with increased bloating, erratic blood sugar response, and gut microbiome disruption. The fix: eat leftover potatoes cold, in a salad with olive oil, and let the resistant starch work for you instead of against you. Pause for just a second. If you have stayed with me through all 5 of those: spinach, rice, chicken, eggs, and potatoes, I want you to do something right now before we go any further. Think about your week. Think about what was in your refrigerator the last 3 days. Think about what you reheated yesterday morning, or 2 nights ago, or what you are planning to heat up tonight. Because here is what I am seeing in the comments on videos like this one. Week after week, people are not reheating these foods because they are careless. They are doing it because they are practical, because they are managing a household, because they were told for decades that reheating leftovers was the smart, responsible thing to do. Waste less food, save money, eat at home instead of going out. Nobody told them that after 50, the rules change. Nobody told them that the same habits that served them perfectly well at 35 are now landing differently inside a digestive system that has fundamentally shifted. And that gap between what the research now shows and what people over 50 are actually doing in their kitchens every single day is exactly why this video exists. So before I give you numbers 2 and 1, and I need you to stay with me for both of them, because number 1 in particular is the food that generates more surprise than anything else I cover on this channel, I want you to do one thing. Drop a comment right now with just the word reheat if you have eaten any of the 5 foods I just covered as leftovers in the past week. I read every single comment on this channel, and I want to know how many people watching this right now are in exactly this situation, because based on everything I have seen, it is far more common than most people realize. The 2 foods coming up next are the ones I considered putting first in this list. The reason I didn't is because I wanted you to have the full context, the biological picture of what is already happening in your gut after 50, before I showed you what these final 2 actually do. Because without that context, you might hear number 2 and think, that cannot be right. My doctor never said anything about that. And that reaction That specific moment of disbelief is exactly the problem. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part of this video that most people will want to send to someone they love. Number 2. Mushrooms. I saved this one for near the end because it is the most counterintuitive item on this entire list, and the one that generates the most pushback. Mushrooms are widely celebrated as a health food, anti-inflammatory, immune-supporting, rich in B vitamins. All of that is true when they are eaten fresh. Here is what most people who know about mushroom nutrition have never been told. Mushrooms contain an unusually complex protein structure that begins breaking down the moment they are cooked. When that breakdown process is interrupted by refrigeration and then restarted by reheating, the proteins do not simply resume where they left off. They oxidize, they fragment, and the compounds produced in that fragmentation process place a measurable burden on the digestive enzymes of an aging gut, enzymes that are already operating at reduced capacity after 50. A study published in the International Journal of Food Sciences and Nutrition documented significantly elevated levels of oxidative markers in reheated mushroom samples compared to freshly cooked ones, markers directly associated with gut lining irritation and digestive inflammation. Your doctor almost certainly never mentioned this, because mushrooms are healthy. The assumption has always been that healthy foods stay healthy no matter how you handle them. After 50, that assumption is no longer safe. The fix: cook mushrooms fresh, in small quantities, every single time. They take 6 minutes in a pan. They are not a leftover food. And then, number 1. Seafood and shellfish. This is the one I always save for last. And here is why. Of all the foods on this list, seafood and shellfish undergo the most dramatic and the most dangerous molecular transformation when reheated, specifically in adults over 50. When seafood is cooked, cooled, and reheated, its proteins denature in a way that produces some of the highest concentrations of oxidized lipids found in any commonly consumed food. Those oxidized lipids, confirmed in a landmark 2020 study in the Food Chemistry Journal, which analyzed reheated seafood samples across 14 different species, are directly linked to intestinal inflammation, disrupted bile acid metabolism, and in repeated exposure, measurable damage to the gut mucosal lining. After 50, your mucosal lining is already thinner. Your bile acid production is already slower. You have significantly less physiological buffer against what reheated seafood introduces into your system. The result for many people over 50, chronic bloating, unpredictable digestion, and a slow accumulation of gut inflammation they have been attributing to aging itself, when the real trigger has been sitting in their microwave rotation the entire time. The fix is absolute. Never reheat seafood. Eat it fresh, or not at all. Here is the good news. Everything I just walked you through is fixable. Not with a supplement, not with a medication. With one revised shopping habit and a few simple decisions you make once, and then repeat automatically. Here is your complete swap guide. For every food on this list, there is a specific, affordable, accessible alternative that gives your digestive system everything it needs, without the molecular damage that reheating creates after 50. Instead of reheated spinach, buy pre-washed baby spinach and eat it raw. Raw spinach retains its nitrate content in a form your body processes safely and efficiently. Available at every grocery store for under $4 a bag. Toss it with olive oil and lemon. Your gut gets the iron and the magnesium without the nitrite conversion that reheating triggers. Instead of reheated rice, switch to pearl couscous or quinoa, cooked in small, single-serving portions. Both cook in under 12 minutes, hold their structure without the Bacillus cereus risk, and digest more gently in an aging gut. Available at any grocery store for under $5. Cook what you need. Eat it immediately. Instead of reheated chicken, repurpose cold leftover chicken directly into wraps, salads, or cold grain bowls. No reheating required. The protein is fully intact, easier to digest, and your gut lining does not have to contend with the oxidative compounds that a second round of heat creates. One decision. Zero extra cooking. Instead of reheated eggs, commit to cooking eggs fresh. Keep 2 or 3 hard-boiled eggs in the refrigerator and eat them cold, not reheated. Hard-boiled eggs eaten cold do not produce the oxidized cholesterol that reheating generates. They are portable, affordable, and ready in the time it takes to peel them. Instead of reheated potatoes, eat leftover cooked and cooled potatoes cold, in a bowl with olive oil, herbs, and a handful of raw vegetables. Cold cooked potatoes are one of the most gut-friendly resistant starch sources available. The moment you reheat them, that benefit reverses. Eat them cold, and let the resistant starch feed your gut microbiome instead of spiking your blood sugar. Instead of reheated mushrooms, cook them fresh in a small pan with olive oil and garlic in 6 minutes flat. Buy them in smaller quantities so you are never tempted to batch cook and refrigerate. Fresh mushrooms are available at every grocery store for under $3. The nutritional difference between fresh and reheated mushrooms after 50 is not marginal. It is significant. Instead of reheated seafood, order or prepare only what you will eat in a single sitting. This is the one item on this list where the substitution protocol is simply, do not create the leftover in the first place. These are not radical changes. This is one revised grocery list, a few smaller portions, and a single rule applied consistently. After 4 weeks, most people over 50 report a measurable reduction in bloating, lighter digestion after meals, and more consistent energy through the afternoon. If you made it to the end of this video, that tells me something important about you. You are not someone who accepts a vague explanation and moves on. You are not someone who hears eat healthy and considers that sufficient information. You are someone who wants to understand exactly what is happening inside your body and exactly what to do about it. After 50, that quality is not just admirable, it is genuinely protective. Because here is the truth that nobody in mainstream health media wants to say plainly. The bloating you have been dismissing as normal aging, it may not be aging. The heaviness after meals that you have been attributing to slowing down, it may not be inevitable. The digestive discomfort that you have quietly accepted as just the way things are now, it may have a specific, identifiable, correctable cause sitting inside your weekly meal routine. You were never told that after 50, your gut processes reheated food differently. You were never told that the molecular changes reheating creates interact with an aging digestive system in ways that accumulate over time. You were never given the specific names, the specific mechanisms, or the specific alternatives. That was not your failure. That was a failure of the information you were given access to. And I want to be clear about something. Nothing in this video is anti-food. Nothing here is about restriction or deprivation or turning every meal into a source of anxiety. This is about precision. About understanding that the body you are living in at 55, at 65, at 75, is a different biological environment than it was 2 decades ago. And it deserves information that reflects that reality, not generic guidance designed for a 35-year-old. You showed up today. You stayed through all 7 foods. You now have something that most people your age, including, frankly, many of their doctors, do not have. A specific, research-grounded understanding of exactly which reheated foods are working against your digestive system, and exactly what to replace them with. That is not a small thing. The people who take their health seriously after 50, the ones who refuse to accept, decline as the default, who ask better questions, who seek out better information, those are the people the research consistently shows live longer, stay sharper, and maintain their independence further into life than anyone around them expects. You are clearly one of those people, and you deserve accurate information to make decisions for yourself. That is exactly what this channel is here to provide, every single week without compromise. If this video changed the way you think about what goes back into your microwave, subscribe right now so you never miss what comes next. Every week on this channel you get exactly what you got today. Not vague wellness advice. Not generic eat more vegetables guidance, designed for nobody in particular. Specific research-grounded information about what is actually happening inside your body after 50, and precisely what to do about it. If that is what you have been looking for, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This community is built for people who take that seriously. And if you want to drop a comment before you go, tell me which food on today's list surprised you most. Was it the rice? The mushrooms? The seafood? Drop it below. I read every single comment on this channel, And your answer genuinely shapes what I cover next. Now, before you go, I have one more thing for you. Because what I covered today is only half of the picture. We talked about the foods that damage your digestion when reheated. But there is an entirely separate category of foods, ones you are probably eating fresh, right now, today, with the best intentions, that are doing something remarkably similar inside your gut after 50. Not because of how they are stored or reheated, but because of how your digestive system specifically responds to them at this stage of life. I have a video that covers exactly that. 7 foods that gastroenterologists now identify as the most common hidden triggers of chronic bloating, gut inflammation, and disrupted digestion in adults over 50, including 3 that are almost universally considered health foods. Foods that appear on every clean eating list. Foods your doctor has probably never flagged as a concern. One of them is something that millions of people over 50 add to their morning routine, specifically because they believe it supports their gut health. The research tells a very different story. That video is on your screen right now. Watch it immediately after this one, because the two together give you a complete picture of what your digestive system actually needs after 50, and what it has quietly been fighting against. Everything you learned today becomes twice as powerful when you have that second piece. I will see you there.